Call to order the meeting Wednesday, February 7th of Landmarks at 6 p.m. Would we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call.
Commissioner Settlemeyer.
Here.
Commissioner
Here.
Commissioner Riles.
Here.
Commissioner Robinson.
Here.
Commissioner LaGrasse.
Here.
Commissioner Winter.
Here.
And Commissioner Ingman.
Here. Okay, it is now time to elect the chair and vice chair for 2024. I'll open the nominations. Are there any nominations for the position of chair?
Could I say something real fast?
Sure.
Could we maybe hear from our two new members briefly before the election so we get an idea of who they are in case, just an introduction, who they
Sure.
are and what they bring to the table?
Well, I'm ready to nominate someone.
I move to nominate Commissioner Settlemeyer to position of the chair.
We have a second?
Second.
We have Does the member accept the nomination?
I guess.
That was pretty enthusiastic.
Can you repeat who seconded? I have that Cox made the motion and who seconded it?
I did.
You did.
Yeah, it's Richard. Okay, are there any other nominations for chair? I would nominate Chad Robinson.
I would second that.
Are there any other nominations for chair?
Does Chad accept the nomination?
I would accept.
Oh yeah, I forgot that. Sorry. Thank you. All right, are there any other nominations? The nominations are now closed. There are two members, what does it say? Go to a contested election. We've never had to do this before. Wow, this is exciting. All right. So that's unanimous consent. I'm reading a script, so let me go to the contested election. Since there were multiple nominations for position of chair, we will now vote by ballot to elect our chair. Your vote is not anonymous. Who you voted for might not be announced at the meeting, but is public record and will be included in the minutes. For those of you attending virtually, please email Alyssa. Hopefully you have that at your name and vote for chair. Or do we have anyone? Yeah. Okay, so those of you at home, there's no voting members at home, right? Be sure to okay, so we'll skip that. All members will now vote. And the CAG contact will conduct the election. If it takes more than 5 minutes to conclude the election, the presiding officer should recess the meeting till there is a result. All right, so we ready for this? Yeah.
For the ballots.
Oh boy, this is exciting. This is fun.
So fancy.
We've never had two nominated at the same time. If I'd have known it was going to be this much trouble, I would have just let Cameron have it. Thank you, David.
Oh, very nice.
Good food there.
Okay. I'm moving. The staff will now tabulate the results. No vote buying now. Could have a tie, huh? Oh, my word.
No, Alyssa would announce.
1, 2, 3,
Yep,
4,
that's
5,
right there in
6.
this.
Oh, you're right.
We have a winner.
All right, the votes have been counted and Chad is our chair for the year. Speech.
We might as well roll on into the vice chair. Is there any nominations for vice chair?
I move that we nominate Commissioner Settlemeyer
Second?
to position of the vice chair.
Second?
I'll second that.
If there are no other nominations, we can do unanimous consent. Are there any other nominations? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Great. Now. You get this. Here you go.
Good luck. And the packet, probably.
Uh-oh. Now that's pretty much over, I think.
Congratulations to both
That
of
it?
you. Thank you for.
Okay. If I could just deviate briefly from the next item, if Kathy and Richard, if you would just give a brief introduction and why you wanted to be here and what you look forward to.
Sure. I'm Kathy Winterroad. I'm retired. I was a deputy director for the City of San Diego Planning and Development Departments. My expertise is historic preservation. I was Alyssa for many years at the City of San Diego, and David also. So I wanted to get involved. I love Albany. We've been here almost 8 years now, and this is how I thought maybe I could help. I really support the goals and the program that the city has undertaken, and I'd like to just help continue to achieve those goals.
Welcome. Awesome.
Thank you.
I have it on. I'm also retired and a relatively recent Albany resident, about 7 years ago. Although I was born in Albany, my parents moved away at an early age. I'm a retired archivist and academic librarian, and I've been interested in preservation since I worked in Jacksonville, Oregon for some years and was on the Landmarks Commission there, the Architectural Review Commission. I've also been on the Landmarks Commission in Portland. And preservation has been an interest of mine for many years. I've also do a lot of writing about Oregon history and write articles for the Oregon Encyclopedia. And I live in the Monteith District. And one of the reasons that I live in the Monteith District is because it's a beautiful old house and I wanted one, so we got one.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Approval of minutes.
I just want to add, we made 2 minor edits since they were sent out. The first one is on the windows that would be worked on with the window restoration class. We removed which direction it was. It seems there was some discrepancy, maybe north, maybe west. So since it wasn't clear, we've just removed any reference to a direction. And then there was another line about Queen Anne style that didn't reference specifically churches being rare. And so we clarified that in the minutes. So those are the only 2 edits that have been made. Other than that, everything is the same.
I move we adopt the minutes of January 3rd, 2024.
We have a second?
Second.
All right. Moving on, business from the
No,
public.
all in favor?
Sorry. Oh, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Same sign? Very good. Any signups for business from the public? Okay, very good. Kim Jackson, you're up first.
Hi, I'm Kim Jackson. I'm the Historic Resources Coordinator for the Albany Visitor Association. Wanted just to remind people that we had moved our office down to Ferry Street, and we're so new that I wrote down the wrong address, and Lisa had to remind me, because we're right next door to them, that's not your address. So I got that right. But anyway, we're down there on Ferry Street between 1st and 2nd, so come down if you want to see the new digs. We're piled this high with stuff, but we're slowly getting things put together and starting to do our job and having a lot of fun with it. One thing I did want to announce is that we're kicking off our photography contest, and Mr. Settlemyer, you're welcome to keep putting your entries in if you'd like. And we have the deadline is March 8th, 5 p.m. Friday, March 8th. So anybody who's interested, there are several categories: culinary, events, historic Albany, landmarks, people, scenic, and a youth category. So I encourage anyone who'd like to put some of their photos in, that'd be great. Anything you can do would help us out with our promotions, and the stuff we've gotten in the past years has been wonderful. So we have a good collection of photos we can use. I think that's about it. Anybody have any questions? Or all right, out of here.
Thank you very much,
By the
Mr.
way,
Jackson.
you said you moved into a new house, old house in the historic district?
Some years ago, yeah.
Okay, all right. Have you been on the tour? Historic houses, homes
the
tour?
previous owners were.
Oh, well, I encourage you to be on if you'd like.
Well, we've thought about it.
Have you? Well,
Not this year.
well, maybe we should talk. Thank you.
Perhaps.
Thank you. Lisa Grotto, Albany Downtown Association.
Lisa Grotto, Executive Director, Albany Downtown Association. I have a newsletter for you. I will hand them out after so they don't have to be scanned into the public record. But I'll give you a couple of highlights of what's going on. We're encouraging folks to come downtown for Valentine's dining, shopping, and other fun. The Rotary Crab Fest is set for February 10th, and that is over at Calapooya Brewing. Great fundraiser in the community the day before Super Bowl. Our Meet the Neighbors this time highlights a number of downtown entertainment spots. So if you think there's nothing going on, there's lots going on, from trivia to movies, board games, yoga, all kinds of things happen downtown. If yoga's entertainment. Our volunteer spotlight is our Taylor Rosa. She is amazing head of our Economic Vitality Committee, co-chair at this point, and has done so many things, including help out with our awards and lots of other projects. Includes a calendar, a little Parkwise update. There is a parking survey and consultation that is going on right now with Walker Consultants. So a survey has been completed of the available parking downtown, and the next step is to look at how to accommodate the potential growth that we're anticipating between the OB properties, potentially buying 1, 2, or 3 of the parking lots, and then also the Letman development on the full block where or the half block where the Wells Fargo used to be. So from the alley to First Avenue and Ferry to Broad Albany. So they'll be taking all that into consideration. If you missed it, we're sorry, but our First Friday Chocolate Walk was last Friday, and it was well attended and lots of wonderful chocolate beverages, and as well as regular chocolates and cocoa and things. We have a little excerpt from the Albany Explorer app from the Visitor Association highlighting pioneering Black women. So please suggest you check out the app or read those two here, but there's information on other pioneering women, and that doesn't mean they were pioneers as in the date, but it also includes people like Wendy Kirby, who brought the carousel to town. So the only other thing I wanted to mention is that one of our projects, or the Oregon Main Street Revitalization Grant, we had 3 of those awarded in the last couple of years, and one of those was to revitalize Greyhound Tavern. They've set a grand opening date of the 22nd of February. So we're very excited that we have already managed to supply them with $180,000 of the $200,000 of the grant. The rest will be distributed from the state to the Downtown Association and passed along once the project is completed. They always reserve a percentage until the final project sign off. So anyway, well, thank you so much. And I do have to talk to Mr. Jackson because I think there's a new photo category of downtown photos that we're going to be sponsoring. So I will check the memo on that, let you know.
Thank you.
Hold on, I get fries away. Rebecca said yes. That was before the move.
All right. If there's nothing further from the public, we'll move on to business from the staff.
All right. So business from the staff. In your packet, you should have the Cumberland Church letter. It's provided in case we wanted to add anything or any edits are needed. But I am planning on getting that off tomorrow so that it makes the submission deadline.
I think it looks great. It's very short and to the point and well written. I have no edits or additions.
All right. Thanks, Bill.
I concur.
Would you take comments from the public?
Sure.
Okay, hi, I'm Joe Lorton, representing the Cumberland tonight. And I was just a little bit disappointed in the letter, I guess, because Bill spoke so eloquently at the last meeting about the Cumberland. I feel like this letter is a little bit of the Reader's Digest condensed version. But I realize, Alyssa, you've got a deadline. So I just felt I had to make that comment. You guys really spoke so highly of the Cumberland. I had hoped to see a little bit more in the letter.
Okay, thanks for the feedback, Joel.
Really?
I'm just wondering if on the final line, instead of we hope that the advisory committee recommends the church's inclusion, if we could say we strongly recommend.
Yeah, we could change that.
Because we are a recommending body to the state.
Mhm.
And I was wondering about, we talk about the Cumberland Community Events Center being a loving steward. Do we want to talk about any of the ongoing work being consistent with the standards to help support that integrity analysis?
We could. We haven't reviewed any of it.
Oh, we haven't. And the state hasn't reviewed it either?
I think they're reviewing with the state potentially.
Okay.
They're not on the register
Okay.
right now.
Okay.
So that's the only reason I didn't include anything.
Okay. But I think because I agree, I was at the meeting last month and there was very strong support for inclusion. So I think we could be a little stronger in that support.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I was the one who kind of voiced the strongest support. And I got to thinking, I took a cut at the letter and I found myself just sort of repeating what's going to be in the nomination. And I felt like as a sort of a deliberative body of many people, I felt it was a little better to stick just to we reviewed this, we like what we see in the application. I like the idea of strongly recommend, but I didn't feel like I needed to make their argument for them per se.
Yeah, I just think that hope is not the right word. I think we are a recommending body and we either strongly
Yeah, I think
recommend or
strongly
strongly
recommend is good.
support the inclusion. That would be my suggestion for an edit.
I agree with that too. Yeah, I think that's good.
Yep, I can definitely change that verbiage.
Thank you.
If that's all the commentary we have on the letter, we have anything, what else do we have from the staff?
We have draft surveys. These are kind of the final edits. So I'm going to pass these around. They are bundled together, so you're just going to take one off the top and then keep passing it down.
Yeah, I could talk a little bit about what we ended up with. So we're looking at 3 different kinds of surveys. The first one would be a survey for Albany residents at large. It's mostly just to gauge public interest in historic preservation and also to find out the knowledge of what people understand about local historic preservation. We also then have a second survey that we will send postcards to every owner of historic properties in town. So it'll be a direct mailing to those folks with a link to the survey for them to take. And it's a little more in depth as far as being a historic property owner. We thought that there was some more questions that we thought would be good to ask. And then finally, we're looking at doing a focus group, probably 3 of them with different interest groups. So for instance, we would want to do one maybe with local real estate agents. We would like to do one with former applicants that have come to the Landmarks Commission. And then, so on. So there's also the downtown group too. I think we'd like to involve them in a focus group as well. And so Alyssa and I met with Matt Harrington, our city chief information officer, yesterday. There's some really good innovative tools out there for doing the survey. So what you see is really a mock-up of the survey, but what we're going to be doing is copying those onto like a Survey Monkey type of a electronic survey. And then the focus groups, there's actually a program called Slide out there, and you can actually do live results during a focus group meeting where you ask an open-ended question and then you can tabulate what the results are, and it shows up on its own slide. So it seems like a really fun, innovative way to do a focus group rather than just simply sitting around a table. So there's some good tools out there. Now, these questions largely came from different sources. They came from input from Landmarks Commission. They also came from other cities in the surveys that we've seen, the questions that they've used. And also we've shared it amongst staff as well as our community development director. So what you see there is more or less a final draft, but what I'd like your input on is if you see something in there that you'd like to reword differently, or if it causes any heartburn that you really think we should give some additional thought to, please let me know. Otherwise, in the meantime, we're planning on going with the surveys. So when we do send out the mailing, and we're thinking it'll be in about a month when we have the survey posted online and ready to go. So we'll have another opportunity to talk about this in March at our next meeting. If you do have anything that is a concern, it won't be too late at that point to make some minor changes. But for the most part, this is what we're planning on going with.
So David, who gets the focus group survey?
So those will be people that will probably use something like a snowball technique where we have a few people in mind, people that we know in the real estate industry. We have Albany Downtown Association people, and then we would probably approach those people and ask for additional members that we might not know about that we can invite into a focus group. I do think that having prior applicants would be useful to include as well. And so we have a list of those people that had come to the Landmarks Commission before. So that group wouldn't be very hard to put together.
Yeah, I mean, these are great questions, and this really seems wonderful to get this out there. But of course, not everybody can answer these questions. And so I just want kind of
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I mean, these are really good questions.
I like the questions too a lot. I think maybe we want to include why afterwards because the response to some of these questions could just be yes or no. And I'd be interested in knowing what, more than just yes or no. But I think these are really brilliant questions. I appreciate them a lot. I also like the question on solar panels and the other two packets we have.
Thank you for that input.
Yeah, I agree. I think not just yes or no, but why is often very insightful. But obviously I'll need more time to actually review these before I have any detailed comments.
Sure, and that's, I would expect that. I know we're just handing these out now, so. All I have on that right now.
Could you remind me as to the timeline for when we'll be looking at these focus groups? I know some of us will need to attend.
Yeah, so probably around mid-April. Might be good to wrap these up before Historic Preservation Month so that we can kind of switch gears and move on to other stuff. So we're looking at posting these online for about 14 days. The focus groups, we'll have to start making arrangements for that sooner, I think, because people's busy schedules. I do have a preliminary list of names, and I also want to get a hold of Friends of Historic Albany for other people that could also participate in that. So we have some more work to do before we actually set it up, but I think by mid-April, we should be able to start doing those surveys for the focus groups.
Is it just going to be online or will there also be like physical copies handed out, mailed out, passed out?
We could do some paper copies. We had talked about doing that before. Maybe like if the farmer's market, I don't know, was that open early April? So that might be an opportunity to have some paper copies available for people. We can, make them available as much as we can.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that there are certain demographics that don't use technology as much as other demographics, and we don't want to exclude those people,
Yeah,
That's the only thing
absolutely.
We'd also talked about having paper surveys in the office, and if somebody wanted one, they could stop by and pick it up.
We could even mail it to them too.
I like the idea of mailing it to them. That I think removes a lot of barriers, like even getting here could be an issue
Mhm.
in some circumstances. So, an equitable approach there.
Yep.
That kind of sets us up well to hear what you have to say about Preservation Month planning.
We're starting. So the Benton County and City of Corvallis held their initial coordination meeting last month. So kind of some main takeaways from that is potentially, since we're partnering more with Corvallis and Benton County, opening it up to not just be Historic Preservation Month, but kind of Historic Preservation season. So potentially going into August. I think the main hope is that we mainly try to keep some activities in May. But I think what happened last year was toes started getting stepped on. Like we all tried to jam events in and we had too much happening. And so there would be several events in one day. And so they were hoping that by widening the time period, we could have more events where people could go to everything if they chose. So that's one thing. They're in the preliminary stages of setting up kind of like a trade school. So actually doing technical training in the community. They think they know where they're going to have it located, but they're not saying yet. So they're kind of in that stage right now, but they're kind of soft launching this year. And then the Forest Service reached out and they're hoping to do something with the St. Anne Wagon Road. They are aiming for like a late September event at Fish Lake Guard Station. I'm going to try to see if they'll do some kind of soft launch stuff for that in May so that we can kind of lead up to their Fish Lake Guard Station event. It's kind of like a historic reenactment. They're going to have like blacksmiths. Somebody's going to bring a historic wagon replica and have it pulled by mules on the actual wagon road. That's currently what they're thinking, subject to change. There's many months from now. So there's some there. The St. Anne Wagon Road was a major trade route between the east side. It started in Ontario, Oregon, and actually ended here in Albany. So there is a local connection. So we could potentially do something with that. I'm going to see if they'll maybe do new driving directions because you can drive a significant portion of the route still. It's turned into roads. But they are not necessarily the fastest roads between here and, say, Sweet Home. So they're a little off the beaten track, but it's pretty interesting to drive. I've done it.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yep. So that's what I have. But hopefully we've got some more ideas about things we want to do. If anybody knows of anything that's happening in Historic Preservation Month, those would also be good to start getting added to a calendar.
Now, I remember from the Benton County meeting that I attended, there were several North Albany residents that had various interests, including, I believe there was someone who was doing some research on some of the Thornton Lake history and some of the trees in the area, fruit
Yep.
trees and things like that. I wonder if that's something that we could maybe get rolling. I mean, sometimes we forget about that side of the river. Everything old seems to be on this side, but there's things going on over there too, and it's sort of untapped for Albany.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think that area, they found it on Parks property, East Thornton Lake. We could work with the Parks Department and see if we could maybe get something put together, like maybe a guided hike where we talk about it. If that's kind of we want to focus on, we could definitely do that.
We could maybe tie that in with heritage trees.
Mhm.
If there's some of those, I believe there was an old apple orchard or something on that property.
Yep.
You know, that they've actually done some heritage varieties of apples on. I don't know the details, but if we could tie that into like the Albany Heritage Tree Program, just because that was like a really big thing a long time ago, and a lot of those trees for various reasons are no longer here, and that program's just kind of stagnated. And so that might be something we want to kind of bring back to the attention of the public this year. And that'd be a great way to tie it in.
Yeah, we could definitely do that.
I like that idea a lot, partly because I've acquired a number of postcards from 1904 that talk about the Albany Apple Fair. And so I would be very interested in that.
Also a historic American chestnut over there.
May's going to be on us before we know it. Do we want to sort of define a theme or a focus for May? I mean, trees are starting to get flushed out tonight, but is there anyone else who has something they'd like to focus on in May?
Another thing we've talked about but haven't done is like a workshop on researching the history of your house. I know that we've brought that up before as well.
That's a great idea. I think there's a lot of people who would like help with that.
So, I mean, it's one of the problems I think was like, oh, we got to do it perfectly with like covering everything. I was like, there's so many ways to research it, even if it's like just an introductory course on it, just to give people ideas of kind of setting them down the road. I think that could be useful, even if it's simple.
I definitely second that if we would like to do that in May.
Who would do something like that? I mean, are there researchers or something out there that would be able to do some kind of a workshop like that?
I mean, I could talk a little bit about what I found about my house. Just use an example. Again, I'm not the expert on research on a house, but I mean, I could, with some help, like cover some of the basics. That's something we want to pursue.
There are a number of researchers in the area that are excellent at it.
Maybe if we could collaborate, maybe Cameron, you, and I know there's some people at the museum who are very familiar with what sorts of resources the museum has, whether it's photographs or I think there's a lot of ways we could go. So I would definitely like to do a day, or not a day, but a clinic on researching your home.
And this is something, because the weekends tend to get packed for preservation months. This is something we could do in the evening, you know, like a 2-hour workshop or something like that, rather than trying to make it a big event.
And houses that have not.
I'm sorry, Kim, but could you come up and speak so we can record it? Thank you. I know it's a hassle.
You're official now.
As part of the homes tour, if a house is on and has not been researched before, not been on the tour before, we do homes research for that. And so we do have paperwork that kind of lists how you do that. And I could provide you with some of that information if you wanted to disseminate that to people and give them a kind of a leg up on how to do that. If you,
Would it be too much to try and shoot for after the tour?
the tour is in
After the
July.
summer tour?
And we could do that.
We could also, maybe we could do two. We could have one in May and then, but I feel like a lot of people might be energized by the tour and
Yeah,
we had something
It
available.
would kind of put it at forefront of that. So I could provide that for you. So maybe I could talk with one of you guys after this week or something and kind of lay out what you want to do.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to doing it twice.
Okay. I can get you some information. Okay.
Cool.
Right.
So one of the things we've done in the past, going back, I guess the pandemic sort of interrupted things, but one year we did kitchens and we toured several kitchens in the neighborhoods that had done remodels that were period specific and gave people an idea. And then we met over like Calapooya Brewing and we had people there from various contractors to Home Depot representatives to give information.
I think I was there one time.
Yeah. And then
On the other side.
Then we did bathrooms the next year, then we did porches. And so, but it's a lot of work to set that all up and do it. And at that time we had some people who were, I won't mention any names, but some people who were on this committee who were very devoted to that and helped make that happen, even took a little trolley around with people. So that's possible to consider, but it means one or two people spending quite a bit of time putting that together.
Sure.
I'm not volunteering.
I think that's another thing we could look at dovetailing with the tour to provide those sorts of resources. I can remember participating in at least one as a vendor.
So one of the things to consider, and I would ask staff, reading through these questions, these are really great. And they get, especially the second page, not the little yes, no page, which is good, but the second page really gets at some very tricky and difficult to resolve issues. Now, on track to revise Article 7, that's sort of what we're gearing up to be able to do.
Mhm.
So would it make sense to get some of these focus groups together during May? Can we do that soon enough to have, while everybody's excited about it?
Sure.
Get these meetings, because I would be more than happy to attend those meetings and even help lead these discussions, because I look through this and my head's popping. I know all about this stuff to the minutia more than I want to know, but the average person might take a little walking through, but getting their input would just be amazing. And so
That's what we're hoping to do.
yeah, great. I'd volunteer for that. I'd volunteer for helping this because, and I'm sure, a lot of people on the committee would want to be involved in that, because these are things we really struggle with. And I know staff struggles with them too. Like where are the trigger levels for these? And is what we have right? And sometimes we don't even know what it is that we have. So my hat's off to you guys for tackling this, but it's really something that's going to help us out.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Does anyone have anything else they would like to focus on for Preservation Month?
Who's gonna?
Comments from the public again?
Go ahead, Joel.
Okay, thanks. I'll just put on my Friends of Historic Albany hat now and share with you what we're planning. And Alyssa mentioned, there's discussion with Benton County about not trying to put too much into the month of May, but maybe spread it out. And we thought that was a great idea. We're actually going to kick off our monthly meeting is always at the end of the month, the end of April. We're going to do a walking tour. We wanted to bring more attention to the Oregon Electric Railroad Depot and what Cerberus is doing. So we thought we might do a walking tour around that area. There's a lot of other historic homes at the west end of the Appleman district. Walking tour, and then finish it up with our annual public meeting, in which, and what we'd love to do is gather all the information possible about the preservation events so that we can then share that with the public and really promote the upcoming activities. Also, we want to support Chris Gustafson's proposal for the window restoration workshop. I haven't really mentioned that as a potential Preservation Month activity. I know that's what he was proposing, and we want to see if we can help him out financially to achieve that goal. And I would hope that Landmarks would as well. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Joel.
Thank you.
I was just going to add, I think Benton County and City of Corvallis are looking at a theme related to trails for this year. We don't necessarily have to follow suit, but they're kind of thematically centering around that.
Well, that would go with the Santiam Wagon Road.
Yes, and we could potentially talk about like the Applegate Trail, or you could expand trails to be talking about trade networks, and maybe that's where we tie in the apple trees. Just ideas. Like I said, we don't have to follow it, but I think that's thematically what they're aiming for.
That might be something that would be worth mulling over, just because the Sandy and Wagon Road, ended or started here, I guess, which direction you're going. So that would be an easy theme to pick up on, and we just need to figure out what we would do for that, I guess.
We could maybe expand it to cover historic landscapes, looking at individual trees and the wagon road and the orchard. An idea I was thinking about is the Native American use of the area around the rivers. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, CAMUS, Camus or Camus?
Camus.
Camus. And I know there are speakers that go out in the community and provide that information. And I'd be happy to try to reach out and see if we could get something, but I don't know if it would be like a speaker at a Landmarks meeting, or if it would be something else another time in the month of May. I'm not sure how it works here.
Well, I mean, if we went with the theme of trails, if we could get a Native American talking about the original trails, because
yes,
like the Sandy and Wagon Road and the Applegate Trail, I mean, there were trails before then. So
Sure.
that could all be tied in. So normally you wouldn't have that as part of a Landmarks meeting. That would be, an event, a separate event we'd have.
With like a
talk.
educational lecture or with handouts and stuff. I'd be happy to try to reach out. My son's a wildlife biologist at Oregon State, and he's one that told me about this person that lectured. So I would start with him or give staff the information to reach out.
David Lewis?
I don't know. I don't know the name. No, I don't know.
Okay. I think it might be.
Oh,
but yeah.
okay. Okay. I don't. I thought it was a woman.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not sure. But according to him, it was very interesting use of the native vegetation and around the rivers and that. So
I'm really interested in getting stories from Indigenous peoples. I think that's a really, really brilliant idea. I can't think of something like that's occurred in Albany recently or in the past. So I think that's a really, really good idea.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
There's a local photographer, I think he is part of the museum board, but I could be wrong about that, who has done a project on Oregon's Trail of Tears, the forced resettling from Southern Oregon to the Grand Ronde. And he would probably, especially if Benton County is focusing on trails, he would probably be someone they would want to get a hold of.
Okay. Yeah, that would definitely be good. I think they're hoping to tell the stories we don't typically tell as part of this year's events. So that's probably something they'd be interested in, especially if we'd be partnering or something like that.
He is Albany based. The bulk of the trail bypasses Albany. I think most of it happens on that side of the river. Is it Nolan Streitberger? Nolan Streitberger, yeah. I heard a little bit about his process, and it was striking how close he could come to the actual sites where they camped using the journals. I think it would all be sort of wiped away, but there's several instances where he was.
Which journals?
The journals from the soldiers and spoken word tradition from the indigenous peoples. Nothing further for the run up to May and beyond. Okay, let's move.
I just remembered we probably want to talk about awards at the next one, so maybe bring some nominations.
Yes.
If we're going to try to do awards in May, we probably need to start thinking now.
We always try to miss that, don't we?
We do.
I have a couple, if you want them now, or do you want to wait till next month?
Let's brainstorm and bring them next month.
Okay.
'Cause I just remembered about it, so I was not prepared to do anything else.
Nominations next month. Very good.
Probably the main categories are greatest hits, residential, commercial, somebody who's a good steward, something like that. We can work on the categories depending on what we feel we have enough people to nominate for.
Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, business from the commission.
Does anybody know what's going on with the house next to the Monteith house? This may be a question for staff. The lancet window upstairs has been missing for several months. It looks like it's under renovation, but I'm not sure what's going on.
Yeah, he's renovating it. He talked to me back during the summer. He's trying to put a foundation under it. So they're digging out the crawl space. They're working on the windows. They were pretty well shot. But I told me I had to do historic windows. So keep the originals and do repair if possible. He hasn't come back to do anything for use of substitute materials or anything like that. So as far as I know, he's still bringing the original window back. Because I did make it clear to him that if we're doing anything different than that, we need to have an application.
Okay, good. Yeah, I just didn't know what was going on because it's like I thought, well, maybe they're being repaired, but they've been missing for a while. So
It's extensive repair. He might have talked to the window repair people up in Mill City. Is it Staten up there in Marion County? I don't think that he went with Chris. If he went with somebody. But yeah, it might be out for safety. It might be out for repair. But yeah, we definitely talked about his windows. Yep, sounds like a big undertaking. And then there wasn't really any insulation. It was just siding and then inside.
yeah,
So he's
that's
also
a really old house.
Yes, it's super old. So yeah, he walked me around. No foundation. So yeah, it's a bit of an undertaking, and I assume he found more fun things.
Is that everything for business from the commission? Okay. Well, next meeting date, Wednesday, March 6, 2024. Welcome to our new members. And we adjourn this meeting at 6:48.